Welcome to the Torah Chatbots Podcast, where innovation meets storytelling. I'm your host, Daniel Halbert, and today we're joined by a special guest, Omri Hurwitz, founder and CEO of Omri Hurwitz Media, a PR powerhouse that's reshaping how tech startups amplify their stories. Omri's built a media empire by leveraging guaranteed PR coverage, authentic thought leadership, and creative content amplification on LinkedIn, Twitter. He's worked with over 300 startups, featured in Rolling Stones, Tech Times, and Entrepreneur, making him one of today's most influential voices in tech media. Omri, it's fantastic to have you on the podcast with us here today. Let's begin.
Thank you so much, Daniel. Thank you so much for the opportunity. Super excited to be on the show.
Let's just jump right into things, and let's get a sense from you on what was the turning point for you in your professional career that made you realize that building something different in the tech PR space would be a fruitful endeavor?
So that's a wonderful question. That is a really good question. And I actually remember the exact moment that happened. So what happened was this. At the time, I was writing. So I was writing for Forbes. I was writing for Yahoo Finance. I had lots of columns in different media outlets. And what I saw was I started getting pitched by PR firms who basically wanted me to promote their clients in my articles. Now, what I did is I would tell those PR firms, I would tell them, sure, I would love to include your client in my article, but please heavily promote it afterwards. So more people will come and read the article and my name will be more remembered, and I would start basically building my influencer brand, right? Now, the thing is, they did exactly that. Once I wrote about their clients, those PR firms would share the article on their social media. But the problem was that their social media posts would get maybe 1 or 2 or 3 likes, right? So I would go to those PR agencies and I would tell them, what do I need you for? Like, you guys don't have any real value, tangible value to your clients. You basically just connected them to me as a reporter, but you didn't give any value for me. And what those PR firms would say, they would say, what do you mean, Omri? We helped you create the content. We helped you get a speaker to the article and expertise and whatnot. And I would tell them, I don't need, like, you're not, like, I could write a great article without your clients in it, and it will still be a great article. And at that moment, I understood that the traditional PR game is very, very bad, very bad. And then what I wanted to do is I told some of the people who were on my team, who were also reporters, I told them, guys, I think there's a huge opening in the PR space. Let's build a modern PR firm that not only helps the clients, the brands get exposure, but also helps the reporters get more exposure to those articles. And that building a huge marketplace, a huge media marketplace. And that's exactly what I did. Right off the bat, the numbers were just very dominant. We immediately seen in the first month, I think our first 1 or 2 clients saw, I think, a 400% more media coverage and brand awareness compared to their previous PR firm. And right now, Daniel, we're at 560%. So just so you understand the numbers, our clients get 560 percent more brand awareness through media coverage than the second media company, the second media PR firm out there. And that's just, on the statistics, because, some clients get even more than that, right? So it's really unbelievable what we've been able to do. And I feel that we've been able to take media from a very traditional space into a more modern game that has social media ingrained into it and amplification ingrained into it as well.
Impressive. It makes me wonder what kind of modern day tools you're applying and how you're able to leverage AI potentially for building your business and scaling it up against your traditional content.
So AI is like a it's a bombshell. It's a juggernaut. It's one of those things that once ChatGPT started out, it completely changed the game in a sense. The way we use AI is very simple. We have a whole framework for that. So for example, Daniel, let's say you're a client and I get you an article on Forbes, right? Daniel was featured on Forbes. We have AI that takes that article, turns it into snippets, into LinkedIn posts, into X, Twitter posts, right? We have an AI that we use that's called Opus Clip. If it's a video interview, we use that to create clips out of the podcast interview, right? So basically, the main thing is we use AI to further distribute the existing media piece that we've got. So the whole idea of modern PR is basically to create as much content pillars out of one gigantic or one initial content pillar, main content pillar. And AI really helps you to do that in a very, very simple way, very fast way. We've done the same thing before AI, right? That's the framework we've been playing with in the last several years. And AI has basically helped our team do tasks that would normally take an hour, do it in 15 minutes. So that's basically how we're leveraging AI. So again, just to kind of like summarize, we use AI to create snippets out of the content, create different pillars of content from the main pillar of content, the main media base, we call it. And on the video side, on audio side, we use AI to create lots of other content, right? Shorts, reels, those kind of stuff, LinkedIn videos. And it's just a great way to do it. I do have one thing that I want your audience to kind of understand is that it all starts with having a framework, right? Having a clear framework of how you want to distribute the content, and about understanding that, the first initial content itself, let's say you have a case study about a client, let's say you got a PR article on Forbes, let's say you got an interview on on Joe Rogan. It's not enough just to have that piece of content. You need to take that content and create lots of pillars out of it for the initial content to be effective.
I can relate to that because on the Torah Chatbots platform, we're really working towards trying to make use of all of the information that's available that people simply don't know how to piece together. Having some kind of a vessel that's able to receive all of the different types of data, specifically multimedia content. So you have a video, if it's a podcast, or you have a lecture or something relevant that's there for you as a basis for learning. Like, for example, what we're doing right now is the basis for somebody to pursue and understand in a much deeper way how they could go about, first of all, reaching out to you, and as that being a means to accessing in a very quick fashion, access to the market and access to different types of approaches that are not going to be like an end in themselves. In other words, you're looking at a long-term process where you're continuing to take the information and the content that you're creating. And I wouldn't necessarily say recycling it, but you're repurposing it as necessary in order to keep producing fresh things moving forward. And I see where AI comes into the distribution as well, which is very impressive. So let's move on to another topic here. How about we look at what it means to create an authentic leadership voice in tech? What does that mean to you, and how do you do that?
So basically, the word authentic, I feel, is kind of like overused in a sense. First of all, in order to create some sort of thought leadership brand, you need to rise above the noise, and there's statistics for that. So for example, Daniel, if you decided you want to start posting on LinkedIn, and you post 2 or 3 times a month, and let's say even in a great case is that like each one of those posts, I don't know, go viral, and you get like 3,000 or 4,000 impressions on each of those posts, you still end the month with like 12,000 impressions. And that's not enough. Because if you really want to build a brand, first you need the numbers to make sense. How does the numbers make sense? You need to rise above the noise. So the first thing is basically just consistency, right? Aiming to get at least 600 impressions on each post, doing it 4 times a week. Like that's basically like the bare minimum that you should do it in the start if you're starting from scratch. Now, in terms of like building like an authentic brand in a sense, I would basically swipe the word authentic with the word targeted, or I don't know, or thought about brand in a sense. And the way to do that is basically really understanding your ICP. So who are you writing this for, right? Who do you actually want to, like, who are the people who are going to move the needle in your business? Who are the prospects who are going to move the needle in your business? And it could be very multi-layered. It could be prospects, it could be investors, it could be potential employees that you might want to hire. So first is really understanding who those are, the personnels and personas you want to attract. And then you need to write the same way you speak. So you need to write very effectively. You need to make sure you don't use a lot of buzzwords. You need to make sure that you're actually providing value and expertise and not just rambling on or like using AI to basically just generate content that is very fluff or generic. All of this like very simple advice, and you would probably like interview like a lot of people who do like also thought leadership for startups, and they will say the same thing. The only thing is the execution. Like nobody can execute, and that's like the whole thing. Like even now with AI, you don't see people executing hard enough on the thought leadership side, and I feel like that's the biggest thing. I feel like people do know what they need to do. I feel like they do already know like what is like the exact kind of messaging they want. I feel it's just like the execution which they lack, and I would definitely start there. And let me just kind of like summarize this for the audience. Like, if you're like a genius in terms of like understanding your ICP and like a genius in like strategy and messaging, but you lack execution, you're gonna lose to someone who is like not that smart in their messaging, but is like executing like a firebrand, right? And you see that in politics, by the way. You see in politics how like people who are called, there's actually a label called firebrand or like a populist. You see how well they're able to perform against their counterparts just because they execute much better in terms of their online presence. And I feel like CEOs need to understand that for sure.
That's very impressive. I want to focus on a different part of this topic, which is building credibility and trust with your audience. I heard you touch upon it in the sense that people don't put in the sufficient amount of effort, despite the fact that they know how important it is to personalize your message and make sure that it's actually representative of your true voice, whatever true voice means. It's kind of up to interpretation, but let's just say that it's not an AI generated some piece of material text that you're going to be now using on your behalf. And if, let's say, I'm interested to hear if you want to tie it into the next part, but let's say that you do use AI as your spokesperson. Let's say that it is your voice. What recommendations can you give for people for their prompts that would help them to make it more personal, if you care to share that as well? But my focus is on building credibility and trust with your audience.
Great. So basically, AI is a wonderful tool, but you really need to know how to use it. So the best way that we saw of using AI is to create very deep prompts. So the prompts are very lengthy. Our prompts look like mini, in a sense, like mini ebooks or like mini articles. They're so long, Daniel. Like for a 100-word LinkedIn post, we have a prompt that is like 700 words. And why that is because we want to basically instruct the AI as good as we possibly can to write exactly in the tone of voice and the style that we wanted to produce. You basically start off with, and it's it's easier to actually showcase the prompts, but you basically start off with the commandments. You basically tell the AI what you want it to do. And the second part of it, you tell the AI what you don't want it to do. So you create kind of like a restriction for it. In one sense, you have the positive commandments, and then you have the stay away from commandments. And then what you do is, after you have those two sets of commandments, the third part is you insert concrete examples. So you insert or concrete link or like actual links from previous LinkedIn posts or Google documents that contain a LinkedIn post, or you can actually copy paste the actual LinkedIn post that you wanted to replicate in terms of tone and style. And then once you do that, it generates the first kind of admission, the first kind of draft for you. And what you do with that draft, you have a follow-up prompt. So we actually have two follow-up prompts that we use for it to get us to that third or fourth draft that is more in our liking. And then we take that fourth draft, we put it in a Google document, and then we start playing with it as humans. So that's the process we kind of work with it right now. So to summarize, you have the commandment, you have the initial prompt. The initial prompt is made out of three parts. One is positive commandments. Hey, do this, write in this style, blah, 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 blah. The second part is writing the stay away commandments. Don't do this, don't make it fluffy, don't make it cringe, blah, blah, blah. The third part is actually giving it links to learn from. And then the other parts of this process is having the follow-up prompts later on. And then the fourth, it's basically two sets of follow-up prompts. And the fourth kind of like editing is done by a human on a Google document. That's the best way that we saw to create stellar content that looks authentic, looks real, and doesn't feel like it has been AI or heavily AI generated.
That's really impressive. I'll just summarize also my understanding on what you're saying, which is that people oftentimes think still that one prompt is sufficient, one detailed prompt is enough in itself, and that a follow-up prompt isn't even a consideration. However, you're saying that you have 3 or 4 follow-up prompts, and what you're doing is you're essentially breaking up the workload for the AI model so that it's able to delve deeper into a particular portion of a task, and thereby later on they're able to put more energy into each following step in that procedure, and that's how you're finding that you're able to produce higher quality. You found a balance basically between the amount of text that you're putting into each step, and so you have to structure that and create proper limits, and within there you're going to have the do's and don'ts, kind of like the positive and negative commands, right? So I suppose also it's going to lead me to a question, which is, do you have one model that you
So
use over and over again? Or are you using multiple models and you're just, adapting it? In other words, are you roughly starting from scratch each time you're writing a post? Or are you actually pushing the same model forward, considering the fact that it will eventually lose track of the initial conversation?
So are you asking me if we are using different models in terms of the different LLM models that those AI agents provide? Or are you asking me if we're using different models and for the same client in different conversation? Can you just help me understand
Thank you.
the
Sorry about that.
No worries.
So I should probably start by asking you which AI models you're using, because my assumption was that you're probably on OpenAI, like on ChatGPT, but it might not be the case. And if that's true, then I'll proceed, with that, if that's the case.
100%. So we have our new favorite, which is Grok.
Very nice.
Yeah,
Yes.
Grok is not politically correct. OpenAI is trying to teach us that AI is very politically correct. But human beings and human emotions don't fit in the politically correctness category because we're not robots. And Grok doesn't give a shit about that. So Grok, our choice of AI at the moment.
Okay, that's super cool. Yeah, so I mean, every AI LLM has like a working limit on how many tokens, how many words it can receive in a given message, right? So we always have to take that into account when we're splitting up the tasks for it. In other words, each portion of the overall task that we're kind of trying to achieve, the amount of examples we can give, the amount of specificity that we can use relies upon this prompt field's limitation, right? And so we see that the models continue to grow in terms of how many words they can handle when you're giving an input. And I think that's interesting that you're very aware of that, and that you're using the model over and over again, splitting up the workload into portions that are modular in a sequence, so that what you're doing is you're building like a snowball effect off of the initial approach, and you're creating something that just takes on a life of its own, and that at the end you piece it all together with that human glue, which is the editing and refining that makes it human. But you're also obviously striving to make your technology or the LLMs you're working with as human as possible. In other words, you're also trying to work with models that have less restrictions, or that's what we humanly desire, which is to operate with the freedom of speech.
100%. 100%. You summarized it beautifully like a poet.
And so let's move on to the next topic, Omri. How about let's just go for a straight actionable insights into what can startups do in order to start scaling their media coverage today?
So the easiest thing to do is to create an owned media powerhouse. So make sure your blog section is very valuable, very written really well. Make sure your CEO creates content on LinkedIn. Make sure your CEO has his own podcast. Your leadership team is commenting on LinkedIn and creating lots of content, because then you attract the media coverage to you, right? Because if you have good resources that you own, that you create, people would actually, outside media, would actually want to cover that, right? So that is basically the best way to guarantee media coverage. So instead of actually going out and just trying to pitch reporters all the time, you actually need to create value, create content for yourself from your own kind of viewpoint, in your company, and you're gonna attract lots of media coverage if you do that, in a great manner. It happened with Gong, it happened with Walnut, it happened with WinAI, it happened with HubSpot, who basically build this whole demand inbound infrastructure. Point five, another client of ours is doing a great job with that as well. And yeah, it's basically that's how you play this game. You create it, and they, it's like the movie. I forget the movie with Kevin Costner, or with The Field. You will build and they will come, right? That's like a sentence from one of his movies. So that's basically the philosophy.
Amazing. Okay, and what are some mistakes to avoid when working with PR media?
The mistake to avoid is to basically try to control what the reporters write. So basically, like, when you talk to a reporter or to an editor, in the end of the day, they have full control over what they want to produce and what they want to write to their audience. And the mistake that a lot of founders have is like they try to kind of like do an ego battle with the reporter and something, and that never ends well. The other mistake is not distributing the content. So like a lot of companies, they would like work extremely hard to get like really great media coverage, or like their PR agencies on their behalf. And then once the coverage is out, they don't do anything with it. They don't even share it to their social profiles. And like, what's the whole point, right? It's not gonna do the distribution by itself. You still need to distribute the content, especially in 2025, where people are like consuming content from like, I don't know, like 1,000 different places in the same day.
What's one thing that startups commonly get wrong about PR?
So I think what they get commonly wrong about PR is that they think that PR is a direct business play, and it's not. It's a good supporting play, but it's not a direct business play. You still need to use and amplify the PR to get what you want out of it, right? So like the only way to measure PR is based on a benchmark. So for example, Daniel, in your industry, if you are my client, we need to make sure you're over the benchmark. What do I mean by that? Make sure that you're getting more media coverage than your number two competitors. Make sure that that media coverage is in the relevant targeted outlets, and make sure that you do something with that media coverage. But other than that, you need to, like, your company would need to know how to amplify that and use, I don't know, remarketing tactics, use paid advertising to amplify, use influencers to advertise that content, amplify that content. And basically that's what companies need to do. So it's not, you start with the PR, that's the main thing, but it's not the direct business play. It's a supporting tool.
And tell me, now that we were just focused on the actual posting and actual activity of getting involved with social media, PR in general, but we haven't spoken about the preparation that's required in order to actually do it correctly. So would you mind sharing a little bit of insight on that topic as well?
Yeah, I think the things that you need to have is you need to have like deep expertise on the things that you want to say. So basically, you need to create kind of like a media kit, and AI can create a beautiful media kit for you. That media kit should concise of things that are, there's like a very simple framework. One is basically what is trendy in your industry. So what are people actually talking about in the industry? And you can ask Grok to find that for you. Grok does a beautiful, if you prompt it correctly, it does a beautiful job in that. The second thing is you need to have your solutions to what's being talked about. So what does your voice as a CEO, as a company, as a product, whatever, what's your solution to that underlying problem, right? So you need to have those talking points ready to go. And then the other thing, you need to have those testimonials working for you, right? How is that solution being presented out? Where, right? Who's using your product? Why are they using your product? How did it uplift? How did it uplift their experience or kind of like solve their problem? So you need to have those in like one media kit. Out of that media kit, you can create so many different things. You can create LinkedIn posts, X posts, etc. Another great tool that I would recommend using is called, let me just tell you what it's called. There's a great tool called Answer the Public. So there's a tool called Enter the Public, where basically, and you can actually use Grok for that as well. Go to Grok, tell Grok, listen, we manage a company in this space, in that space. This is our ICP, etc. What are problems people are experiencing in this industry? Show me the recent X post about it. Show me the recent articles about it. and it will just showcase in your kind of conversation with Grok, and then you can use that as a talking point to your next content.
Wow. That's top shelf information right there. You really know how to map it out, Omri. I'm impressed. Wow. Thank you. I think that it's a good opportunity for us to actually wrap up now just with some quick fire questions,
Let's
short
do it.
impact. So we'll start off with, okay, I think I can guess it, but what's your favorite media platform right now?
LinkedIn.
Oh, I guessed wrong. I thought it was going to be
Yeah,
X.
you thought Twitter.
Yeah.
They're both. It's LinkedIn and Twitter, to be honest.
Cool. Okay. Why?
Why? So LinkedIn is great network. It's a great business play, but Twitter's content is much better. I mean, come on. It's like there's like crazy conversations going on there. It's also, I would not recommend spending more than 30 minutes a day on Twitter. It could really mess up your mindset and it could really impact your mental health. Some of those conversations on Twitter are not the easiest conversations to pay attention to. LinkedIn is more kind of like brain friendly, we'll call it that way.
Nice. So it's definitely a more productive option for getting ahead with your life and with your brand and building your business.
For sure.
Okay. Next question. One book or resource every PR professional should read.
I would say read The Fountainhead, a book by Ian Rund. It's a novel. It's not a business. It's not directly a business book, but it's definitely a book that really, really helps you if you want to be in PR in terms of messaging, in terms of understanding, and you can learn a lot from the characters in that story. So I would definitely say The Fountainhead. It's not your usual answer, but you should check it out. If you're a PR pro, you should read this novel.
It's a really impressive direction to take. I like that. It's a kind of an unexpected answer. Okay. Next question. Biggest trend in tech media you're watching closely right now?
So the biggest trend that I'm watching closely in tech media is basically summarizing articles through AI, through bullet points, and displaying them above the article or underneath the article. So we're seeing lots of media outlets like Yahoo Finance, etc. What they're doing is you basically have kind of like a Twitter style feed displayed inside the article or beneath the article for commentary. And basically, why am I following this trend? It's because media is effective when people who are consuming the media are able to participate in the conversation. And traditional media outlets are starting to understand that, and it really highlights their engagement, right? So that's the trend that I'm looking for.
Wow, that's a cool trend. Okay, very interesting. I want to make sure to pay attention to that as well. Okay, and then final question. What's one thing you're most proud of in your career?
I think the thing that I'm most proud of is the way our company is able to prioritize profits. So our company really prioritizes profits, and while other agencies or media companies that are competitors, because I don't think we're an agency, we're more than an agency because we own media outlets as well. But other companies in our size of revenue, they would have 10x the in-house staff. And we don't fall into that trap. We want to have 100x on actual profits than just have more people work for us. And it also makes each one of our employees significantly richer because of that mindset. So that is the thing that I'm most proud of.
That's excellent. Thank you. Okay, a modern day lean company with the power of AI can do the work of 10 men. Amazing.
100%. And we've been running that before the AI, by the way.
Even from before that. Okay, so it's a matter of knowing actually what to do and how to do it starts the whole process off on the right foot.
Exactly. 100%.
Cool. So to wrap up, Omri, thank you so much for sharing your insights with us today. It's been an incredible journey, really getting to know you and understanding how you're able to navigate PR and social media and just effectively find a way to work with AI that still produces something human so that we're able to connect with other human beings, which I think might be the missing piece that you're actually adding amongst also having a lot of experience required. So it's really been a pleasure, and thank you for joining us on the Torah Chatbots podcast.
Awesome, man. Daniel, thank you so much, brother. Keep it up, and keep talking and praising Torah. It's beautiful, beautiful. God bless.
Thank you. God bless you too.
Bye, buddy. Bye.